Hey, Courtney here with Color and Light Company, and welcome back to the channel. All right, so now we're on to step 2 in the design by Glassy Leaf Studios. It's a sun catcher drop of sunshine design. And of course, in the first video, step 1, we talked about the difference between a hobby and a commercial license. We talked about how to print out the design and of course how to cut out that design. And this is actually what we did in that first video. And now, like I said, in step 2, we are going to transfer this pattern onto our glass, which is exciting. This is when you can really make the design your own. You can pick all different kinds of glass. You've got different colors, different opacities, different textures. So there's really no limit to what you can do. You can do a monochromatic color scheme, complementary, all those nerdy design terms. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and visit Glassy Leaf Studios, they're on Etsy. All the information's down below in the description. They're coming out with designs almost weekly, I'd say right now. So yeah, go purchase this design. Go check out the first video. Come back to this one, and like I said, we are ready to start getting this on glass, and we're actually going to cut glass too. So we've got a lot to cover in this video. Let's get started. All right, so we are back. I have changed my setup a little bit, as you can see. You might be wondering, what the heck is that? This is called a waffle grid, and you'll see why in a moment. So we've got these little indentations. This is just plastic. These little indentations are not meant to catch delicious syrup, but it will catch the shards and splinters that are inevitably created when you are scoring and breaking glass. So the theory is that they'll stay in the grid in these indentations and not in your hands or on your work surface. So it's a great product. It's also modular, which is really cool. So if you have bigger pieces you're cutting for bigger projects, you can just add them on. As you can see, there's room to grow on each of the sides here. I will put a link to this product in the notes below. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that. Just want you guys to check it out. And if you want to grab one, I think they're about 20 bucks. I might be a little off there. It's a little bit of an investment, but like I said, it's awesome. It kind of keeps your workplace tidier and reduces the risk of injury. So it's obviously a great thing. All right, so let's talk about the glass. I have pre-selected my glass pieces. Like I have mentioned before, it's pretty much just scrap that I had. Wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, so I'm going to incorporate it into this design. I'm going to be using shades of amber and shades of blue. That's just what I'm feeling, and also what I had available. If you look at your glass, you'll notice that each piece of glass kind of has its own grain. Let's see if I can get up close here for you to see. You can tell how it was rolled. Now sometimes it won't matter in your design if you are going to lay a piece out, this way or this way. It's up to you to decide what you want that to look like. And another thing you have to think about when you have your piece of glass is how you're going to, of course, place your pattern piece. So you could put it here. If you were thinking about paper, let's get a little bit closer here. Paper on paper, this might be a great option, but that's going to be a little bit of a stinker that you're going to have to take off in the grinder. Again, it's up to you what you want to do there. You can also, like I said, you might want to position it down here so you have a little bit of runway, as I like to say, to use your scoring tool on. And also, you're not going to be using these little scraps that are left over after you cut this out for anything, because those are going to be pretty small pieces. So I feel pretty good about around here. I may or may not be able to break that curve with this little bit left, but I just kind of want you guys to see how the glass behaves when you are scoring it and breaking it. But for right now, we're just going to talk about mainly transferring this pattern from the paper to the glass. And let me see, I'm going to see if I can zoom in here a little bit. Again, the lighting's a little funky. I have my overhead light, but it was causing a crazy glare, and I think it was really just not helping the situation there. All right, so what you want to do for this particular transfer method is you want a Sharpie, and hopefully you can see how sharp the Sharpie is. The reason why you want it sharp is you want to make sure you can get right up to that paper, right up to that line of that paper with that marker. You want to try to represent the size of this pattern piece on the glass. So some people use double-sided tape to adhere the pattern piece to the glass. I just use my fingers. Granted, you can't move them once you get started here. And also, if your glass is dirty, if it is dusty, the Sharpie won't really adhere and it'll be sliding around. So I have pre-Windexed this one. You don't have to do that, of course, but just play around. If you mess up, you can use rubbing alcohol to remove the Sharpie, or sometimes you can just use soap and water or Windex to do so. So what I'm gonna do, hopefully you can see, it's okay if you're a little bit messy, just try to make sure that you're right up against that paper pattern piece. All right? So without moving this piece, I'm going to switch hands, and this is really good for your brain, by the way, to do something bilaterally. And there we have it. All right. So since this is pattern piece 1, I'm going to draw 1, put a line under it. Doesn't have to look pretty. That is so you can get more familiar with the orientation of that piece. Of course, we're only dealing with 9 pieces in this pattern, but when you are dealing with lots of pieces in a big pattern, you really want to know which piece you're working with and the orientation of it. So I've underlined that one. Of course, you've got 8s and 6s and 0s. There's so many numbers that can be flipped over and or backwards and get a little confusing. So yeah, this is our very first piece right here, number 1. And I'm going to go ahead and go through the other ones. We're going to mark them together, and I may have some more thoughts about how to transfer the pattern piece to the glass with a Sharpie. All right, I happened to be going in order. I really didn't mean to. But here is number 2. The glass is a little bit dirty, but I'm going to see how it goes just by not cleaning it. This piece is so tiny. This glass piece is very small. I'm going to go ahead and set it in the middle. First I want to just check out. See, you can kind of see how that grain runs this way. So ideally I might want it to follow that grain since it is like a ray of sunshine. So I'm going to go ahead and place that there and go ahead and try to get, again, as close as I can to that pattern piece. Switch hands. All right. If it moves, like I said, it's okay. You can definitely doctor it up a little bit. So there is number 2. I'm going to write my 2 and put a line under it. And just so you guys can see, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but this is something really good to work with here. As you'll see, glass is gonna kind of do it at once anyway, so we can draw the pattern we can cut the pattern piece as close to perfection as we want. We can outline it as close to perfection as we want, but when we score and break it, sometimes there's gonna be some variation there. So here's number 2. All right, for piece 3, I have this kind of wavy glass here, a clear wavy glass. This also comes in iridescent at my local shop, but I'm just gonna stick with the clear because again, that's what I have. I'm gonna line up this pattern piece where it'll radiate kind of parallel with that. Again, I'm thinking about this particular piece, and if I can use any part of it later, I may be able to use some of this part later. So I'm going to move it up just a tad. Again, I want to have a little bit of a runway around the piece to score and break. And you'll see that some of these decisions I'm making are not the best decisions, but hey, sometimes we just got to go with it, right? All right. Didn't quite get that full piece in there, but you do get the picture. And again, for you, if you've got unsteady hands, you could definitely double tape, stick that, side tape, whatever, the pattern piece to the glass just to secure it a little bit more. And again, make sure you say, hey, it's number 3, and it goes this way. And that's our number 3. All right, for number 4, I'm gonna actually zoom out a little bit here. Okay. All right, so I have this piece of light amber that I want to use. I'm not really going to pay too much attention to the direction of the texture basically. And I do know that I want this color repeated in these two separate pieces. Now, for a straight line, you could definitely butt these up against each other, and I'll show you how to do that maybe with another piece. For this one, I'm just going to separate them out to make it easy, because hopefully I want beginners to get the most value out of this. Let me zoom out just a tiny bit more there. So I'm going to separate it a little bit so you have a little bit more of that runway that I've talked about. And things can always go wrong, so always cross your fingers when you are doing this. Let me see now. I don't think it's going to matter too much if I move this up, because it looks like I have scored this before, but I'm feeling pretty good about the placement. So for right now, I'm going to focus on number 4 and get that marker as close as I can. All right, get that curve. And now get that last straight line there. Okay, great. And so this is piece 4. I like to store my pattern pieces in a little envelope, especially if you use tape that is not too sticky. You can reuse your pattern pieces multiple times. All right, so this is number 9. All right, number 9. We're good there. All right, for number 7, I've got this lighter blue here. I definitely wouldn't want to plop it down here just because, well, I mean, you could still use some of these extra pieces. This piece is a little bit bigger, so let me zoom out again. You could use this area and this area. I'm going to choose to go up here though, and zoom in for you there. All right, so this is number 7. It's okay if you get some marker on the pattern piece. All right, number 7. There we go. And I think, oh, we got 3 pieces left actually. So here we go. 3 pattern pieces. So 5 and 8 are going to occupy this space. I am going to show you how to do them kind of side by side. So I'm going to have their, I guess, straight edges parallel to each other. I'm going to move over here. Get this one going. So this is number 5. And I do have unfortunate news for you. If you are doing stained glass, your future as a hand model is probably over. Don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but that might be a reality for you. All right, so for this, I'm going to zoom in a little bit tighter on this, just so you can see what's going on here. I want to move this pattern piece in to this side of this line. All right. There's so many different ways to do things. This is just one way to do it. It's a little bit more efficient. It will save you a little bit more glass. I've got this little arrow here just to show where I want to score. I don't want to score on the other side of that line. I want to score on that side of the line. So it's pretty close, maybe a little bit off, but that's all right. It's life. I'm going to go ahead and mark him up. See, that was a hot mess. All right, and now we're at 8. All right, and last but not least, we've got number 6. So I think for number 6, this is a pretty big piece of glass. I'm going to focus, I think, right here for me. I'm going to move out a little bit so that there is a little bit of room, as I call it, runway. All right, is that all in there? Let's get you in the middle. All right, number 6. This is our final pattern piece to transfer to the glass. Yeah, see, that time I pretty much just drew on the paper. All right, here we go, number 6. Boop. Okay, obviously right here, those lines didn't meet, not a big deal. We all have a good concept of what a straight line is. And I am going to change the setup so we can start talking about scoring and breaking the glass, basically. There's a lot of tips and tricks along the way, so definitely pay attention to this coming up. Thanks.